We've just finished testing the Nikon D5600. It is Nikon's solution for the sub $1,000 or Euro market. But does it deliver or does it leave us stale? Stick around to find out. First of all, the disclosure, Nikon sent us over this unit free of charge, so we got it for 2 weeks and then we have to send it back. No money changed hands. Second of all, I have to admit that I am primarily a Sony shooter that previously used Canon lenses and Canon cameras, and I never bought into the Nikon's ecosystem of their DX or FX lenses. But still, I'll try and share some impressions and thoughts on the D5600. Let's begin with the specs. It has the Nikon F bayonet with AF mount points and can accept the DX and FX lenses, but you won't get the full quality of the FX, so full format lenses, on the ASPC sensor size. The die itself measures 23.5 by 15.6 millimeters and has 24.78 million pixels, so quite a lot given this is a crop sensor camera. The images produced can be JPEGs or 14-bit RAW files that have a few presets, so the neutral, vibrant, monochrome, portrait and other effect type shoots, but we chose to shoot in RAW all of the time and do some test shots in JPEGs just so that we see how it does, but when we can we shoot RAW and you should too. What makes the D5600 special is its form factor. It is really small, very similar to the Canon SL1 or the Rebel series that just feels a bit bigger and heftier when compared to the D5600. If you have large hands, that might be a problem for you because you won't be able to grip the camera fully and make it feel comfortable in your hands. You get used to the size in just a few hours with the device, but what makes the experience of use that much different from mirrorless cameras, for example, is the viewfinder that isn't digital, and that can be a good or a bad thing, because if you use the digital viewfinder, it allows you to see what you are shooting, while the reflex cameras, so the DSLRs, point your viewfinder through the lens and don't really give you that much of a flexibility. But then again, there's just something special about looking through an optical viewfinder. It just makes the image feel that much more real and the photos taken that much closer to you. Well, it's hard to describe. You can get up to 5 shots per second in the JPEG or 12-bit RAW and 4 shots per second in 14-bit RAW. But if you shoot burst, then do get a fast SDXC card, as otherwise you'll have to wait for quite some time for the 24 megapixel shots to buffered into your SD card. But in the end, specs are just that, specs, and our experience of use is determined by other factors, the ergonomics and the autofocus, of course. Well, the latter is very predictable and quite fast on the 18-140 VR that was provided to us with the camera, when on the wide end of the focal length it was quite blisteringly fast, especially if our target subject was in the center of the frame or thereabout. Once you get more to the sides where there are less focus points, the action does get a little bit slower and not as brilliant, but still it's quite fast enough and seemed way faster to me than the Canon 650D, for example. Sadly, the supplied lens was soft when shot wide open, farther end of the spectrum, so at 140, but that's not the problem of the camera, it's the problem of the lens. As when we moved lenses to the 35 f1.8, the resolution was spectacular and there was nothing whatsoever to complain about regarding the optical performance. The low light performance as well was nothing to scoff at, so 3200 more than usable, 6400 very usable still. At 12,800 I personally wouldn't use those shots anymore, but your experience and for the need to succeed might make that situation different for you, so you might find them quite usable enough, especially with some noise reduction. But that does bring me to my biggest complaint about the D5600. The ergonomics. Yes, it is a smaller format camera, it can't have all the buttons that are on the previously mentioned ones, but still, the fact that I have to push a button to change the aperture, the fact that I have to push a button and hold it to change the ISO, that just seems ridiculous to me, especially if you want to shoot on manual. It just doesn't conform well to, let's say, high-end users or demanding users who wanna adjust every aspect of their shooting experience, be it the image profiles or the aforementioned settings. If you are a family shooter who just wants to use the inbuilt automatic mode and the automatic no flash mode, then the D5600 will be perfect for you, especially with the additional functionality of the NFC and Wi-Fi that automatically transfers the images to your smartphone or tablet. Those are quite brilliant. Additionally, when it comes to video, the D5600 has this rotating screen similar to the GH4 that makes it very suitable for vloggers and other content creators who have to look at themselves to frame the shot. The camera's inbuilt quality is good enough for YouTube as it supports full 1080p 60. That should be quite enough for most use cases, especially if you're not a too demanding user. While it doesn't have any flat or log profiles, much less raw recording, it still produces a decent image that is quite saturated enough and contrasty enough to be uploaded without any additional work, and as such is quite good enough when you take into account who the target audience is. It isn't the hardcore professional, not the 4K video enthusiast who would much rather go for the Panasonic G7 if he needs a budget 4K camera, nor is it the enthusiast photographer who would much rather go in the DX sensor size for the D7200, for example. It is for the home user, the family shooter who doesn't want to store the 14-bit RAW files. They just want the relatively high resolution JPEGs that work, and they can look back at years from taking the photo without the photo taking, 25 megabytes each as the RAW files actually do. All in all, the D5600 is a very capable home shooter with terrific autofocus, a nice swivel screen, good video features, and to top it off, an impressive battery life that I haven't mentioned before. While it doesn't have the ergonomics of pro bodies, it doesn't really need them as it's not meant for them, and as such I can wholeheartedly recommend the product. But do buy some good lenses. The 18-140, while good, isn't anything to write home about, but once you get into the range of 70-200s and the prime lenses and the 24-70s, then you'll already be hooked into the whole camera gear obsession thing, and well, then the D5 will be something you will actually take a hard look at. But that's a few years from now. Thanks for watching this review on Discharge Networks. Don't forget to comment and subscribe to see more videos like this in the future.